What up, everybody? It's Monday, April 14th, I believe. Ugh, hold on a second. My hand's super gross. Sorry. I was ripping apart this tank over here. and it's having problems. And I had to go wash my hands because I forgot that I had green goo stuff from the filter all over my hand, which, you know, now that I touch the mouse again, it's probably dirty again, but it's all right. It's Monday. Everybody's having a case of the Mondays, and we got to find out if the overflow over here. Yeah, the overflow's getting mad at me now. Hold on. This thing right here keeps getting clogged up. There we go. Ah, the light. So bright. Which light? Which light is so bright? I'm confused. Okay, what's up, everybody? That tank, I'm going to have to jump in and out because it's not balanced. I ripped a whole bunch of plants out of it, which caused a big mess, and then I decided I'm going to rip some more plants out of it. So I've got a big bucket of plants going on down here, and then my little overflow filter, this guy, which I guess I just went and washed my hands just so I could show you the gross pad. But then the gross pad looks like this right now. So then I had to replace that. And the overflow is a little bit spicy right now because it keeps getting clogged up with stuff and then goes into the emergency overflow. And then it makes a bunch of noise, which is extraordinarily helpful because then you can go like, oh, hey, it's not running properly, and then go fix it. But it still runs. That's the fun thing. But right now, I need to add a bunch of water to the system, and we're live, though. So we can't really be adding water to the system when we're live. Can we? You know. We got a congratulations from Just Bob. Congratulations. Oh, it's happening again. We're running low on water. There we go. Let's see how well that's balanced for the stream. But congratulations, yeah. Thank you very much. I'm officially moving into absolute midlife crisis. It's the middle of my life. I plan to live to be 90 years old, and so it's the exact middle of my life, and it's all downhill from here, baby. Where's the green room? Here we go. Got to get in the green room here. Okay. Green room's open. I bet you the only person that's going to come in is Witchy Cat. Would be my guess if I had to wager. If I had to wager $1 billion, I'd wager it on that. But I wouldn't tell you guys I had wagered it because then somebody would the fix would be in. And then I'd lose my $1 billion. But it is April 14th, 2025. It is Monday. We're back for the bot. The bot is back for another illustrious live stream. We don't know who. We don't know who controls the bot. We don't know who controls the bot, but the bot appears from time to time. It turns out they're here for today. Witchy Cat says, still counting on the one we banked in February, but willing to start a new one. No, we did a whole bunch of extra live streams. I don't know if you guys remember. We did a bunch of extra live streams to make up for that. I don't know if you recall. In the fish tank news, this tank is not being like torn down. It's just way overgrown and becoming a burden on itself. Like it can't even grow. It can't even grow itself anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's a bit of a disaster because I'm constantly having to feed Puffy, who seems to be hiding. He's probably scared from all of the plants getting ripped out of there. But constantly feeding Puffy keeps this tank out of balance because he's a messy eater. And even when I'm just feeding him snails, he likes to bite the foot off the snail and then be like, "Yeah, I got the part that I liked," and then let the rest of it rot. So it doesn't mean that it's very easy to keep the water parameters super solid in there. They're good enough for him. He's like, this is good. I'm living in the lap of luxury. The water's good for him. He's a happy boy. But the plants and just trying to keep fertilization and everything balanced and whatnot just becomes a monumental issue because there's a lot of extra nutrient in the tank all the time that is very difficult to account for in the fertilization parameter process. You know what I mean? Like you can't just sit around and go like, well, how much did I add? Right? It's like, how much did I add just there? Right? It's pretty difficult to figure it out, because then it's going to add itself to the water column. It's going to get chewed up by the nitrifying bacteria and break down into easily digestible things for the plants, but also easily digestible things for algae. So algae has a tendency to take a strong foothold in here pretty rapidly. And like I said, the big issue with that is the puffer, right? I could put the puffer in a small tank with very low light and some plants and stuff, and just a shitload of snails, and hope that the snails can outbreed and whatnot. But I don't have a tank for that right now. We don't have a tank for that. If I was going to do that, it'd be the tank that's under this tank right here that's empty, that has just a bunch of driftwood sitting in it. It's the one that's below that. You can't see it. It's behind my chair. Gosh, can you see it? Nope, there's a bottle there. It's down there. It's down there in my little hidey hole with my stupid plywood back here, which is down to how many sheets? We're down to 5. We're down to 5 sheets of plywood. We don't have very much plywood left, folks. What are we gonna do now that the tariffs are coming in hot? Can we even afford? Can we afford one piece of plywood? It's super funny because I had planned, and I'd done a bunch of the shots for how to make a plywood cover for your metal frame stand. And it feels really stupid to put that video out now that plywood's going to go skyrocketing back up. And by the way, like, plywood is still way higher price than it was just a few years ago. The quick explanation, the way to explain how this whole tariff situation has been ridiculous for years now. Tariffs were put on in the last Trump administration, and I talked to you about it then. And whether you're one of the Trump cult members or not, if you're one of the Trump cult members, you probably got irate and then started driving around in traffic like an asshole and flipping people off so that you could sort of, you could just let your rage out to like random strangers who just aren't even interested in starting beef with you, right? It's sort of that weird. It's like it's the right-wing passive-aggressive thing, right? Like weird wingnut Jesus-worshipping cult member MAGA people like start shit in traffic, right? With people that like don't even want to like be in an altercation. Like they just want to drive home. Like they just want to drive their car. Like they're done with work. This seems to be the case. Over my many years of experience in this world. And, like one of the big issues was the crazy tariffs that were put on Canada onto the wood there. And a lot of Americans don't realize that a lot of the wood that we use for construction, it comes from Canada. A lot of the plywood, the OSB, the strand board, whatever you want to call it, a lot of the sheathing materials, a lot of studs, whether it be a 2x6, a 2x4, a 2x10, 2x12, whatever. A lot of that stuff is coming from Canada. A lot of that material, and there's a good reason for it, but you have to pull your head out of your asshole. You have to get your head and like dislodge it from it being stuffed right in your asshole. You have to get it out of there in order for you to start to realize some of the reasons why we want to use Canadian wood. One of the easy way to explain it would be, here's the easy dumb way to explain it. They have lots of wood, right? And then, you know, a typical cult member will go, we have lots of wood here. We have tons of trees. There's trees outside. And you go, okay. And then recently they're trying to reopen a bunch of logging in Washington State. And one of the reasons why this is so paramountly stupid is that, first off, all of our old growth trees already been clear cut here. They've already been clear cut. Logging has been happening in Washington State for hundreds of years, and I'm not even kidding you. If you want to look up what the origin of Skid Row is, we've talked about this on the stream before. Skid Row began in Seattle, okay? Seattle, Washington is the OG, original gangster, Skid Row, okay? All those trees are cut down. If you're like me and you love going out in the mountains, going out into the woods, you can go out in the woods. You can go out in the mountains. If you take a metal detector out there, you will find saw blades. You will find old hand saws. You'll find those big draw saws. You'll find bolts, nuts and bolts and things from old log flumes and things like that. You'll find old carriage bolts and crap and shit like that everywhere you go. And if you go deep, even if you go deep into the woods, you're going to find stumps. You're going to find stumps that were cut by humans. The big trees are gone. The medium-sized trees are there. The medium-sized trees are 100 to 150, 75, 80 years old, right? The big trees are gone. That would be the first thing to mention. The sustainable parts of logging in Washington are already happening. They're all being cut down. I could drive right now over to one of the processing mills. I could drive over there right now. It would take me, to be clear, it'd probably take about 25 minutes, something like that. But I could drive over there right now. It's not far. The logging is happening. The trees are being cut down. The lumber's being used. It's already happening. Okay, but one of the things that Canada has is trees that are grown in colder temperature. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but if you go north of any of the cities in Canada, you enter a zone called "It's fucking cold." Right? And in Canada, when it's cold and the trees are growing, holy shit, Kiwi Mamo just figured it out. My guess, Canada colder, tighter rings in the trees equals harder wood, better building material. That is right. When you're talking about long studs, and I'm not talking about the guy you met down at the docks. I'm talking about 20-foot long pieces of timber for, we're going to put a rafter beam up, or we're going to put a rafter joist up. And we need a 2x8 that's 22 feet long to go from here to here. The last thing you want is rings in the wood that are really far apart. If they're really far apart, that lumber was probably grown down here where it's wetter, where it's warmer, where the trees grow up faster. They grow up faster. We want them to grow slow, so the rings are close together. Every time you watch some kind of YouTube video about a builder and they pull out the old wood and they pull the old 2x4 out of the wall and they go, they don't make the wood like they used to. It's not that they don't make the wood like they used to. It's A, we don't have old growth like they used to, but B, we log from where it's cold so that it's actually a stronger piece of wood compared to the stuff, because we don't have old growth, right? So you could either get old growth or you could get stuff that's grown where it's colder, right? That's kind of your two options. If you pick the crap that's from down here where I live, The rings are far apart. The tree's growing fast. It's really wet. It never gets cold. You feel me? Well, when the first tariffs went in place, the lumber that was coming across the Canadian border would come into the United States. The United States importing company would pay the tariff to the United States government. The U.S. company pays the U.S. government the tariff for bringing it in. They turn around and raise the price at the store to sell their lumber, whether it's a lumber yard, whether it's a Home Depot or a Lowe's, or the fucking race car just went up the road. Whether it's a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a lumber yard, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, doesn't matter. They just turn around, they raise the price. They don't want to pay for the tariff, so they're going to charge the people for the tariff. We are living in the modern world where the Canadian companies can look at how much the lumber is being sold for in the U.S. Then they realize, oh, the U.S. can afford to pay more for the lumber. They're still buying it. And they know how much they're buying because the U.S. companies are ordering from the Canadian companies, and the Canadian companies know how much they're selling. So the Canadian companies raise their prices a little bit because they're like, oh, the U.S. market can afford it. So the U.S. market can afford it, so they charge more. The U.S. company orders it. The U.S. company pays the United States government the import tariff when it crosses the border. Then they turn around and raise the price at the store, in the lumberyard, and everywhere. This just keeps happening. It's cyclical, right? Like, it's just a cycle. It's a cycle that just keeps happening over and over and over again until you get pieces of plywood. A sheet of plywood that used to cost $11 now is suddenly $83 for some fucking reason, okay? So I want you to start to figure out how to extend this to the rest of your life, all the other products that you use in your life that are coming from not inside the building, right? They're not coming from inside the United States. This is going to start happening with every single product that you buy. Do you buy drill bits for drilling holes in things because you have to drill holes in things? They don't make these in the United States. There's 3 different brands that I use. One is made in Germany, one is made in Thailand, and the other one is made in Vietnam. Are there any drill bits being made in the United States? I don't know. I can't find a single one at any of the stores, right? There isn't a single store where I've been able to find, like, oh, these drill bits were made in the United States. Even the ones that have the USA sticker on them, you turn around, look around and find the fine print and find out that, like, oh, it was actually made in Italy or something, right? And so I've been trying to start to figure out the types of products that I would even be able to buy in the United States. And there's a ton of shit that I use that just is not made in the United States. So I don't know what... I really do not know what people are expecting. The expectation that, like, somehow if we charge all of the poor people in the United States these extra taxes, these extra fees, somehow there's like a factory that is just going to spring forth out of the ground overnight, and also be able to produce the products at a lower price than the overseas prices plus the tax, the tariff tax. It does not compute with anyone who is, like, soundly thinking with their brain, right? Like, it does not compute. That doesn't make any sense, right? Chevy Fish is independently taking it upon themselves to say hello to Witchy Cat, Kiwi Mamo, Skog Shrimp and Stuff, the Fish Fam Link, the D-Rock, the Just Bob, the Frank Dominguez, the Joel G, the Zip Gun, and hi all the lurkers and anyone I missed. Thanks, Chevy. Pretty funny. Chevy also said you could raise the self-cloning crayfish for a cleaner, puffer feeding experience. I cannot. Self-cloning crayfish are illegal in the state that I live in, and the reason for that is they get outside, and then they get in our rivers and lakes and waterways, and then we have to start singing TLC, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls, right? And we have to start singing that shit, and we can't do that. We can't have that. We can't have that. Holy shit, Witchy Cat's here, but she's silenced herself. What are you doing? Are you self-muting? Self-muting.
Was, yes. I was self-muting.
Self-muting.
Self-mutilating. Self-mutilation.
Muting. Self-mutilation.
That's right.
What are you doing, dude? What's happening?
Not much. Happy birthday, Bubba.
Oh, thanks. It's
birthday.
Not today, but, you know, we're close enough.
I know. Well, you know, I'll be occupied tomorrow, as will you, so I'm...
Oh, shit. What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm getting my boobs smashed.
Oh, you got to get the boob squish?
It is, yes.
Ah.
It is that day. Tax day and boob smashing day. I figured I'd just roll it all into one shitty experience and call it done.
Is it? Well, you know. That's, yeah. You might as well. Yeah, as you know, I file for the extension because my birthday is tax day, and I don't
want to deal with that on a bad.
Yeah, I don't want to go out on a bad note. Like, and the reason I say that is that like some years I owe money, you know.
Yeah.
And people will be like, well, you know, if you get a check back, right? You get a check back. It's like that's cool, you know. And you're like, no, that's not cool because you gave out a interest-free loan over the year,
right?
Which people don't understand that. It's like you gave an interest-free loan to the government for the year because you did not set your tax rate correctly.
Right. And it's not being used for anything you want it to be used for.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's literally not being used for anything you wanted it to. Which is one of those things that, like, I always try to tell people, I'm like, if you make $50,000 a year and you get, if you get a $3,000 check back at like tax time or whatever, that money right there, you should have just been putting that into an investment account, you know, over the year. Like, figure out what that number is that you're off by on your taxes, and then adjust that, and just have them put that automatically into a investment account for you. Whereas, you know, typically most years I just break even. It's like it's not much. It's just break even. Right. Like last year, I think I got $72 back or something stupid.
Woo-hoo. Hey man, that's a meal.
But yeah, it's one of those things. Either way, getting the boob squished. Well, you know, it's good vibes. It's good vibes. You know.
All good.
You got to make sure that you don't end up.
Yes.
Dead. Yeah.
Another thought.
Oh my God! I was looking at the boob cancer rates over the years.
Yeah.
And by the rates, I mean, like your
chances to survive.
Yeah, your chances of surviving.
Yeah.
And it's so wildly increased that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Something
that anybody that listens to RFK should just likely throw themselves in the ocean, right? Because they're like, oh, we can't trust these doctors. And you go like, yeah, man, you really hit the nail on the head there, Chief. The fact that it's like you just look at any of the numbers of the survival rates and like how well we're doing, and you go, yeah, but people are they're unhealthier than they've ever been. We're gonna make America healthy again, and you're like, you know, if you want to say if you want to say that you are making America healthy again, you would need to pinpoint a point in history when America was healthy. First off,
would be a tough one.
Cancer rates were out of this fucking world. the death from cancer rates were out of this world. The death from infection were out of this world, right? Like, it's just it's befuddling to me that, like, I remember about, like, I don't know, like 20 years ago, somebody was talking to me about how, like, we're eliminating like natural selection, right? And I thought, and I even argued at the time, I was like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, why are you even saying that? That you can't, just calm the fuck down, dude, you know, kind of thing. But here we are, like 20 years later. I think they were right. Yeah. Yeah, Joel G says we're eliminating autism by September. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. RFK is going to have autism figured out by September. Somehow he knows it's going to take specifically 5 months from now. It, for some reason, they don't know now, but in 5 months they're going to know. I don't know how he knows that they're going to know.
The tequila worm in his brain is gonna tell him.
Yeah, the worm that talks to him.
Yeah.
The worm that he hears talking to him in his head. That is not only physically there, it's psychologically there.
Yeah.
The self-cloning crayfish are Florida's revenge on the world for invasive species. They traced back the first one found in the trade to a wild-caught specimen exported to Germany. They have 3 sets of genes, which is why they cannot breed with the species they split off from. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I mean, I self-cloning crayfish are cool. Like, I'm like, yeah, those are dope. But the last thing I want to do is be a guy who's making YouTube videos. It's patently well known that I'm in Washington State, and then make YouTube videos about shit that is illegal in the state. That seems weird to me. That seems counterintuitive, because they're already sending the Gestapo out to send people to El Salvador, the first test run of just exporting people. And apparently Donald Trump had a meeting today with the El Presidente of El Salvador, and said that they need to start building 5 more prisons so that we can send homegrown criminals to El Salvador, which is bizarre because the current administration is arguing that they can't even bring back the wrong people that they sent to El Salvador because we don't have jurisdiction there, even though we're the ones that sent the people there. And even though El Salvador would basically do whatever we told them to do, I don't understand. And the idea is that they're just going to start populating labor camps in other countries with prisoners, which is strange because you talk about prison labor camps, and you really wonder when people like me are like, hey, they want to redo the Nazi Party. This is the reincarnation of the Third Reich. You have people from the administration constantly talking about, constantly quoting Mein Kampf. You have people in the administration quoting Mein Kampf accidentally, apparently with air quotes. Oh, what? I don't know. What do you mean? And then you have these, non-elected, appointed billionaire people who are just business owners, Sieg Heiling at public election events. Not even once, but twice, just to let you know for sure. That's what's going on. Namely Elon Musk. I mean, I don't know how many brainworms that guy has, but I think him and RFK have been like trading brainworms or something. And when I talked about, hey, look, this Project 2025 is essentially like, how do you do the Fourth Reich, essentially, right? Like that's what Project 2025 was. It's basically the outline and the plans for doing what could really only be described as the Fourth Reich. The autarky takes over and puts everybody into prison labor camps. Except this time, like, the labor camps are just like in another country, and then you can just be like, well, I don't know what's going on in I really don't know what's going on in Uganda or El Salvador or wherever, right? And like, oh, hey guys, we don't have any jurisdiction there. So, which is like this weird shift with the mega cult people of how the United States is the strongest, most powerful, amazing, beautiful thing that has ever happened ever, except for when it comes time to like do something really basic. And then it's like, oh well, I don't. It's just not good. We just can't. We can't. There's nothing we can. Our hands are tied. Our hands are tied. We only have the largest. We only have the largest military presence ever of all time of any country ever, and the biggest economy ever of any country all time. We have everything at our disposal, but there's just nothing we can do, guys. There's nothing we can do to send. But we just have to send gay hairdressers to El Salvador prison camps for some reason.
And
What's the reason? I mean, just to be evil, I guess, really. I mean, I don't
and
think
if
there's a
he's
different
such
reason.
a great negotiator, all of this is being done under a contract that Trump and Rubio set up. At what point did that fall out of the contract? Oh yeah, once we send them to you, we don't need any jurisdiction, even if they're our own civilians. That whatever, not our problem anymore. Like,
Right.
what?
Which is crazy because they're like, these are convicted criminals. And you go like, convicted where? In what
Right.
court? And then they just go to the next question. They just completely, they do not answer it. They just say, they're convicted. I told you they were convicted. And you go, where? What court? Where were they convicted?
Even they said that they were alleged, or yeah. Ugh, God.
Right. So it's just it's chaos. I mean, it's just abject chaos. And like the title says, I'm trying to have a birthday here in 2025. And meanwhile, the new Nazi party is staging a coup from the White House.
Did I share in the Discord? I don't know that I did. A sign from the Ku Klux Klan telling a handbill telling immigrants to self-deport before American citizens came for them. And then it listed all the different chapters in 6 different states of the Ku Klux Klan and how you could reach them for more information.
I don't know where. I was trying to figure out where Puffy is. I don't see him back there. I don't know where he could be hiding. Sorry, I get distracted by my fish tank. I'm like, haven't seen Puffy pop up, and he normally pops up. Was there a Ku Klux Klan administration link, or not administration?
A handbill. Hold on a second, I'll find it. But basically, they say contact our national office or one of our local chapters, and then it's like Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee. I mean, right in the Bible Belt section. For more information about what you can do as a true American citizen. Are you a white Protestant American? Is what it's. Oh, it's just here. It is. I'll post it over in the Discord.
Wesley's Fish Club says, I love it that companies try to offload the tariff increase to European customers. That's fucking wild that they're like trying to increase prices in the EU just for this, just so that they can offset tariffs. Where's my chat on here? There's a chat in here somewhere. Oh, that's right. Well, on the computer, it's up in the corner. It's not down at the bottom. Somebody just sent me something. Is that you? That's not you.
Sorry about that.
Where'd you go?
I fell off the face of the planet. I'm back now.
Hold on, I'm getting.
So I post. Go ahead.
Getting text messages.
You're so popular.
Well, it's all work stuff. Bees. It's fucking bee stuff.
Ooh, bees are good.
I'm busy making nukes today and planning to release 100 tomorrow. I'll call or text at the end of the day. Schedule pickup. Oh, that's just from Vicky to me from Tim. Okay. Tim's busy making nukes, nuclear hives.
Nice.
Vicky was trying to figure out when the nukes were coming.
Yay, Paula.
Holy shit, we got a $20 super chat. Oh my god. We got a reply. Thank you, Paula. That's awesome. Thank you. Alyssa says, do you think green stuff plumbers epoxy putty would be aquarium safe? No, I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't imagine. I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't think so. Green stuff. Let me think. What is this shit made out of? I gotta find the MSDS on it. Let's see. We gotta, this is one of those times when you have to like look it up.
Damn it. Not Googling.
Yeah, I would say. Let's see. Can we find the MSDS here? Normally you can find normally you can find it right away. Okay. Here it is. Let's see. This material is considered hazardous by the OSHA hazard community hazard communication standard. Okay. Skin corrosion, irritation, category 2. Epoxy resin, silicone non-responsible, talc non-continuous, fiber, where is the MSDS part? Bisulfonyl A. Yeah, so the only reason that this is usable for humans is because it's non-respirable, which means that it's not going to create any kind of dust that you're going to breathe in. Paula Kreinberg says, generally considered non-toxic.
Well, that's for people, but does
Yeah,
it
that's for
fish?
people because it's non-breathable, right? That's why it's non-respirable right here. In the MSDS safety data sheet, it says that it's because it's non-respirable. That's why, because you can't breathe it. So one of the big problems with mixing two solid things like this is because you aren't 100% sure that you mix them all the way. So let's see. There's the yeah, here it is. It's called the stuff that's safe to use is this shit. It's called Aquascape Epoxy, and it is made out of it's one of the problems. Bulk Reef Supply doesn't post the MSDS sheet. So we need to go Aquascape Epoxy, and then we need to find and we can compare the two. Yeah. So the aquascaping putty, the construction epoxy putty, is polyaminoamide. I forget how to say this. Polyaminoamide versus, where's our other MSDS sheet? Right here, which is actually instead is a bisophenyl epichlorohydrin. Epichlorohydrin. Talc not containing asbestos. Not containing asbestos. Good. Crystalline silica. So yeah, the one that you actually want is this shit right here. And I'll just copy it. This is the difference between the two. That shit is the difference between the two. And this stuff once it's cured won't break down underwater. Whereas the other one, there is potential for the release of the curing agent, which is bisophenyl A. This shit right here. Ah, fuck. Copy, you bitch. I probably should, instead of doing it with the mouse, just do it with the keyboard, which is what I normally do. Here you go. That's the difference between the two. And that's how we do that. That's how we look that up. This one is released by Purdue. Purdue.edu. The Prime Lab Safety. MSDS sheet. Gives you the green goo shit. Which I don't use that stuff. So that's why I don't know. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but maybe I'll remember it now, but I will probably forget. And next time somebody asks me, we'll have to go through this same process. But this is the basic process of what you would want to do. You can basically find out the chemical compositions of each one, because at some point when you go to sell this shit, you have to release. They call it a safety data sheet now. They call it an SDS sheet. I call it an MSDS sheet because I'm old school. When I used to have to carry MSDS sheets in my truck. Since then, they have changed it for efficiency's sake, I guess. I don't know. They don't want the M around anymore. Fuck me, I don't know why, but they just don't want it anymore. They don't want the M. They're racist. They're racist against the letter M, I guess. I don't know. Or bigoted or something. I don't know. I'm just fucking kidding. I don't know. They changed it to SDS sheet from MSDS. And I'm old. Like, you know, I'm a million years old. I'm going to tell you guys I'm 45, but I'm actually much older than that. Because I'm, you know, I'm just sexy
You
that
sing
way.
the body electric?
Because I'm just sexy that way, and I can do the electric slide, so check it out. Anyhow, leave now, self-deport, avoid detention, Americans on guard. Help us protect our homeland. The Trinity White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, people are actually posting posters up like this. But here's also the question. Is this somebody just straight trolling? You don't know. It's hard to say. Until we actually look into it, it's just a weird piece of paper. You know what I mean?
True.
Because it would be like a hilarious joke that all of these phone numbers are just people you don't like. You know what I mean? And just go around and post those posters, which, you know, it feels a little out of pocket. I wouldn't do this to my enemies, but I can see how somebody easily could.
Right.
So it's hard. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say if this is real or not. I mean, I guess the thing to do would be to like spoof a phone number and then call these numbers and see if they actually are the Klan Hall.
Looks like those have been floating around since November of last year, and have been pretty thoroughly reported on.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, it's fucking wild that anybody would say for information packet and application, send $1 somewhere.
Yeah.
That's weird and definitely does not sound like something that you would post in 2025. Like, send us $1 for an information packet. I don't know. I pretty typically am walking around with the skeptical hippo eyes, you know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily, I certainly don't believe everything I see right out the gate. I always want to find some corroborating information, and this is,
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, I'm with you. If people are posting Klan posters up, I mean, the easiest thing to explain is that if you see stupid posters up, just take them down and throw them in the trash. So at the very least, they have to print more and walk out and put more of them up. Although the downside to that is that the likelihood of if somebody posts an insane poster up and they see you ripping it down, you might get in an altercation with somebody. But
right,
so I'm not necessarily giving advice to like rip things down or vandalize things. But if people are just posting up pieces of paper like that, like on a telephone pole poles aren't supposed to have anything on them. In fact, there's a goddamn metal plate on the telephone poles that say "Do not post any bullshit on this." Right?
Yep.
And if you want to know how much a telephone pole costs, you can call my cousin because he had to pay for one once.
10 grand.
And then you could call my cousin. You could call my cousin, and he'll tell you how expensive a fucking telephone pole is. Very expensive. So that's the reason for it, because you fuck up the pole by constantly putting staples and bullshit in the bottom of it. Yeah. So, technically, I think you can't get in trouble in most states for taking down shit off of poles and stuff like that where signs aren't supposed to be posted, right? Like if you have a street sign and somebody taped up a bunch of crap all over it, like even those like lost dog signs aren't even supposed to be up on stuff. Even though they're like for a good reason. I get why people are posting them. But they're not supposed to be on stuff, so I don't think you can really get in trouble for taking those down. But like political signs in people's yards, those are protected. Those are protected speech.
Although they're supposed to come down the day after election.
You have one day after the election to take them down.
Yep. So what did you think of the whole memo out to the State Department and other embassies and such about reporting anti-Christian bias?
I'm anti-Christian. Who cares?
Did you see? Oh, yeah. They're looking to use it to collect information on people
To
and
do
then
what?
fire.
To send me to their
Well,
prison camp in El Salvador?
to
They're
fire
planning on doing
federal
that anyhow.
employees. Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, I want people to fundamentally understand that, like, whatever their weird fucking bullshit excuse is like anti-Christian bias. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to send me to your fucking gulag whether you like it or not. I mean, I'm obviously not going to go softly into that dark night, as it were, right? But
Smooth jet.
like, that's their plan, right? That's that you got to, people have really got to start to understand that, like, the plan is the destruction of the United States as we know it. You know, their plan is the destruction of the world as we know it. Like, that's their plan. You know, like, and there's really no, like, mincing words about it, but it's just like what people need to start, like, actively going, like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. One of the reasons that you would send out all these insane memos and all of this, do all of this insane shit, is to distract people from, like,
Doing this insane shit.
well, no, it's to distract people from the fact that, like, of what they're actually up to, right? Like,
Right.
you know, the thing is that, like, there's so many insane things, right? It's in their playbook of the whole reason to do all of these insane things is just to make people like, what the fuck? What's that? What's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? And then wear people down, right? It eventually just wears people down, right?
Right.
You go like, we're doing tariffs because it's going to bring manufacturing back. It's like, no, you're doing
No.
tariffs because you want to destabilize the world economy. Like, that's the reason why they're doing that. Like, this
Yeah.
first time around, the last time around, these are all test runs to see what the market does, to see what the bond market does. And guess what? It's going to collapse because all you would have to do is just ask an economist, anybody who studies this shit, ask them, hey, if we did this, what would happen? And they could give you a really good, broad, explained picture of, like, what is going to happen, right?
Yep.
That's why I'm saying, oh, they just kind of don't really know what they're doing or whatever. Like, of course they know what they're doing. This is fucking economics 101, man. It's like high school level fucking econ shit. So for them to, like, not know what they just, you know, they have the good intentions. They don't have good intentions. They do not. Like, if you had good intentions, you wouldn't have sent 260 people to El Salvador fucking prison. You wouldn't have done that. You would go like, no, don't do that. Just send those guys to our prison. We already have prisons. We have that. Yeah, Just Bob says distract people from the lawyers pledging to not oppose the government. But that's because they pledged to sue and ban those lawyers' offices from doing business, right? So you think about it this way. If you take away those lawyers' security clearance and somebody wants to get, or they want to, they're essentially going to just trample people's civil rights. And then now, because those lawyers don't have a security clearance, they can't defend you in court. So the idea is that if they get rid of all of the lawyers' offices in D.C., when I was in D.C. recently, not even that long ago, there's a ton of lawyers. There's a ton of high-powered lawyers right around there because the Supreme Court's there, and they have to go present in the Supreme Court. Well, if all of those big high-powered lawyers' offices are no longer have security clearance, they can't go work on those cases anymore, right? There's the whole reason that they're doing that. And like I said, for people to just be like, oh, they're gonna bring back manufacturing. It's like, manufacturing isn't even coming back to the United States, whether you like it or not. If it is coming back, it's not going to be in the way that whatever these, like, starry-eyed fucking weirdos in the Midwest think, that, like, everyone's going to suddenly have this amazing manufacturing job or career,
right,
or whatever. Because they can't even formulate a cogent thought around what it is going to look like when they go on fucking Fox News, right? They say things like, oh, people are going to be putting the tiny screws into iPhones.
Right.
What? You're going to be putting the tiny screws into iPhones? Okay. Well, that's a new lifelong career goal that these awesome Americans are going to go work. That's your lifelong career goal is to just stick tiny screws into iPhones for the next 45 years of your life, I guess. I guess that's what you're looking forward to. I guess just
Elon,
sounds great.
Elon Musk
Um,
wants to see all these fired federal workers, the scientists, the career civil service
okay,
people
do
who
not
have
get distracted right now. We're talking about the manufacturing, okay?
well, but he wants them to take
Okay,
those jobs.
I understand.
Sorry.
Don't get
That was my
distracted from what we're talking about right
Oh,
now, which is the manufacturing part of it. Just the jobs.
all right.
Just the
Okay.
jobs themselves, right?
All right. All right.
Is that you want to screw tiny screws into iPhones, and then after answering that follow-up question, they go to, well, yeah, there'll be robots. There'll be robots that are going to do that, but then who's going to fix those robots? So apparently, instead of putting screws into iPhones, we're going to have 100 million jobs where apparently these robots are so fucking faulty that we all need to have full-time employment fixing the robots that put the tiny screws into the iPhones because they break down so often.
Professional robot luber.
Which is how we all really understand the plan is that Tesla is going to make Tesla robots that break down as frequently as the Tesla cars. And that we're all going to have full-time jobs fixing the fucking Tesla robots that are just as shitty as the fucking cars. Which, by the
We
way,
glued these robots together.
I still want to have a million arguments with people that the reason that Teslas are not doing well has more to do with the fact that Teslas aren't good cars. Like, they convinced you with a fancy, like, you put lipstick on a pig, right? Like, you don't have a date to the prom. And that's essentially what they did, is that they went, wow, this is a high-performance car. They put these fucking electric motors into a car that made it go real fast and then said it was a sports car, right? And that this is a high-end sports car. They sold it to a lot of people for way too much money. And because it was supposedly, air quote, a high-end product, right? This is a fast car. It does all these amazing things. It does all this amazing stuff. They essentially put lipstick on a pig because those cars straight up fall apart. They don't have the range that they're supposed to go. They don't have the build quality of a fancy, nice car, right? And I think what the reality is that people got into a honeymoon with the fact, and they had already spent so much money on those cars that they are like, yeah, it's great. You know, like this is a great car. It's a great car. It's an amazing car. But when the reality comes in, and it starts to be 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, 10 months, or 2 years down the road, and the door handles are broken, the cup holders are falling off, the bumpers falling off of the car, half of the shit doesn't work. You need updates. You have to pay extra money for the car to fucking just operate, along a laundry list of other problems, right? And people just started to realize, like, wait a minute, these cars aren't even as good as the amount of money that I paid for it. When you could have just bought two fucking cheaply made Hyundais that probably would have lasted twice as long because you could have just driven one until it fell apart and had a brand new one parked in the garage waiting for the other one to fall apart. Yeah. So, and like Witchy Cat was saying, you were saying that all of the government workers are going to go do the manufacturing jobs.
Well, yeah, that's why the Midwestern base is so excited. They get to get those academics out of their fraud wasting jobs, and you can go and work like a real American. Go get your ass in there and lube up a robot. So
A robot.
yeah, a robot. That's right.
The robot.
So to speak. Yeah.
Robots.
Robots.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the thing. Like there was who was it? Like Scott Galloway kept talking about the Galloway T-shirt. What was it? The T-shirt.
Oh, the
Scott
American...
Galloway kept talking about this. Scott Galloway, if you guys know who Scott Galloway is, this Scott G, Professor G, or whatever. I agree with a lot of the sentiments that he talks about, and I think he's valuable. I disagree with him on a bunch of things, but realistically, he's just a sane guy who has some stuff to talk about, and he has read some things. You know, he's fairly knowledgeable. There's things that I wildly disagree with him on, but one of the things that he was talking about was. One of the things that he was talking about was this T-shirt company, and he's talked about this a few times, and I can't find the story. Maybe the story's here. Maybe I can find it here. But anyhow, I can't find it. But I can kind of paraphrase the story. But like during the supply chain crisis, during the pandemic, if anybody remembers the pandemic, do you guys remember that? He was talking about there's some American guys who were in business, and they were essentially the middlemen, which is what most American businesses are, right? Most American businesses are, you start a company, you build up a name, and you make sales to people. And then the shit is manufactured elsewhere, right? It's manufactured in Taiwan. It's manufactured in China. It's manufactured in Vietnam, Bangladesh, whatever, right? And the American companies are almost always just a middleman, right? They just make the decisions on the packaging, you know, what the packaging should look like this, right here.
Lovely.
Okay. Yep. Here we go. Yeah. Here's a perfect example. So here's some black cup hooks. You ever seen these before? These are these little guys that you hang like a potted plant from or whatever, right? So it's a hook on one end, and then it's got a screw in the other end. You screw it in to a piece of wood or whatever, and then you can hang something from it. It's called a cup hook. These are 1 1/4 inch cup hooks, right? Now the brand here is ooks.com. OOKS. www.ooks.com. But the company that controls it is called Hillman. So you can see right here on the side of the package, it says Hillman, Cincinnati, Ohio, and it says they're imported by Hillman in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, if you go around to the other side of the package, you say, oh shit, right there, made in China. Okay, so the Hillman guys, most likely. Now, I don't know Hillman, so just to paraphrase, this is just some shit that was on my desk. I don't have any problems with this company. They're probably amazing. They'd probably give me a back rub if we were in the same room because they're just such nice people. Probably, who the fuck knows? I don't know. But this is typical of an American company situation here, where they probably made decisions on like what the packaging looks like, what type of clamshell thing that this comes in, how many comes in a thing. That's, you know, they probably made those decisions, and they told somebody over in China, this is what we want. We want it to look like this. We want a little hanger hook on the top, whatever. Like, they just did that. And then they paid the money to get a shipping container or 10 or 100 or whatever of these shipped and imported into the United States. Then they distribute these to, I bet you I bought these at Home Depot. So they probably just a Home Depot hook thing that was there and it looked like the right size. And I bought it, and there was a 40 in here, and I've probably used half of them. So there's like 20 left or whatever, right? Then the American company is just like the middleman here, right? Like, they don't make the hooks. They don't make the packaging. They don't do any of that. They're just the guy who makes the order, and then they just send him out to Home Depot, right? So there was a T-shirt company that was essentially doing this. Like, they say, we want a T-shirt that says, who's somebody famous? Bill Paxton.
Nike.
Who?
Okay.
Who'd you got?
I said Nike. I said Nike, but Bill Paxton works.
Nike's a famous person?
Well, somebody, something. All right, go ahead.
You're killing
Paxton
me,
is
Smalls.
excellent.
Give me a famous person.
Let's go with Paxton.
No, God damn it. Give me a famous person.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Okay. Brad Pitt and Bill Paxton. So we go over here, and then we go. By the way, they didn't make this company because it's fucking AI. So we'll go into AI here. One of the versions of it, many versions of AI, and we write Bill Paxton versus Brad Pitt T-shirt design. Okay. I don't know. The design is a real problem for me because my pinky hurts real bad right now. There we go. Confirm. Okay. Now, we go to the AI here, and we'll see what pops up. And I can't show it to you right away because sometimes there's just a dick in here. So we have to wait for it to populate.
All right. That's not a good place for there to be dicks.
Wait, what did I do? Oh, I did the wrong thing. I clicked the wrong button. We'll turn that off. Remove that. Okay. Add source. Here we go. Oh. Wait. Escape. Okay, hold on. We gotta. I have to click on the. I gotta make it bigly.
Uh-oh. Very bigly?
We gotta make it big. Okay, here we go. So now what we do is we go like this, and then we go. Here we go.
Look at all of you.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is AI makes a Bill Paxton versus Brad Pitt T-shirt design, which is just like what the fuck. It's like they're just like relatives from somewhere. Who the fuck knows? Who cares, right? Anyhow, so then you take. Wait, hold on. Here we go. There's a T-shirt design. There. Okay, there we go. This one's kind of more like it. Okay, here we go. Wait, hold on. Let's check this one. Oh, that's the good one. That's the good one because it's not even. You can't even say it's Bill Paxton, right? Because it didn't even. It spelled his name. It spelled his name wrong. Okay.
Oh, good Lord.
Stupid bots. I love it. These bots are ridiculous. Anyhow, so those T-shirt guys would send this PNG file to the guys in whatever country. Okay, Bangladesh. We send it to Bangladesh. We say, put this on a shirt. We need 500,000 shirts, whatever the fuck it is. You put your crazy shirt order in. Then they make the shirts. Then they stick them in a thing. And then they send them to the United States. Once they're imported here, then you have the product. Then they resell the product to other people, whether it be a retail sale. So you make a website that says you want to buy the Bill Paxton versus Brad Pitt T-shirt here, which this looks more like the guy from Saved by the Bell. Who's the Saved by the Bell guy?
Screech?
No, God damn it.
Mario?
No, the guy.
I know. Well,
the main guy.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
From Saved by the Bell? The blonde guy.
I never watched Saved by the Bell.
You love Saved by the Bell. It's your favorite thing.
Not even a little.
Yes, a lot.
I was thinking one of them looked like Johnny Knoxville in the first shot, but that was
this guy does. He looks like Johnny Knoxville. Look at these two. Look at these two guys. They're ready to go. You could just throw a. It would be easy to take this picture, and then just throw some Brokeback on it down here, right?
Yeah.
And you could probably sell that shirt to somebody. Anyhow,
Mark Gosselaar. Thank you, Sarah.
Mark Paul Gosselaar. There you go.
Yeah, I was thinking Mario Cantone. I was with Chevy. That was who I was.
No, the
thinking.
other, it was Mario Lopez was the guy.
Lopez, not Cantone, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyhow, okay,
Dude,
so
I don't.
those T-shirt guys, they couldn't get T-shirts anymore because there was a global pandemic going on, right?
Yeah, man.
Because COVID got loose, people were dying, people were getting sick, a bunch of crazy shit was happening, right? Which, by the way, thank God I'm fucking vaccinated, bros. I love it. And Dr. Mike, if you guys are familiar with Dr. Mike, he actually broke it down this week why, in a real simple way, why COVID, why it's important to be vaccinated against COVID because of long-acting viruses and short-acting viruses. They have a short gestation period or a long gestation period, right? Like COVID has a short one. So if you're vaccinated, your body has a chance to recognize the virus because the gestation period is quite short, that by the time your body can recognize that you have COVID and how to fight it and catch up is when you're already sick. But it staves off the really bad part. And I was like, holy shit, that is just the greatest way to communicate that. And that's the reason why, like, measles, we're able to get rid of measles with vaccines because it's long. The gestation period for measles is quite long. So your body has a chance to intervene before you even start to get sick. And I was like, holy fuck, why don't they just put that? Just take that clip, like clip it and fucking ship it into everybody. Because you're like, holy fuck, if somebody could have just communicated it that way, it would have made so much more sense. Anyhow, but because of the pandemic, those guys couldn't get their T-shirts, right? They couldn't get them shipped in anymore because of the monumental amount of problems, including the fact that there weren't even shipping containers, right? For other countries to even send us stuff because they didn't even have shipping containers. And then you go like, well, why don't they make more shipping containers? And you're like, well, obviously you have to make those too, right? Like, you think they just click a button and then they're just there. And anyhow, so because of that, they couldn't get their T-shirts anymore, right? So they started to research and took their money and they ended up making a T-shirt factory. It's automated. They essentially get cotton in. It processes the cotton. It processes the T-shirts. It sews the T-shirts together. It puts whatever print on there or no print or whatever it is. These T-shirts are all processed robotically, essentially. The easy way to explain it, machines do all of the steps. And they just make the shirts in the United States. And you go, wow, that's amazing. Wow, look at that. They brought a piece of manufacturing back to the United States. Now, here's the real kicker. How many employees do you think they have? Witchy Cat.
5.
You've gone too high.
Okay. 2.
2. Yep. 2. They have an engineer. They have an engineer that does a bunch of computer work, right? That just essentially is like telling the computers, this is what we want you to do, right? We're going to input a design. You're going to change parameters. This is how many it is that we need. This is how many we don't need. We need these sizes, whatever. You need a person to make those decisions. You can't leave it up to AI because you'll get those different results that we just had there. Bill Paxton.
Yeah, Paxton.
Or sorry, Bill Paxton.
Paxton.
And the weatherman version of Brad Pitt's cousin. and you can't, and you know, it would just actually probably operate itself until it ran out of material, right? Just because it would be like, oh, we just make it until we run out, right? Because robots are stupid. Anyhow, they have that guy, and then they have one other employee who is, can you guess?
The maintenance guy, the
He's
janitor.
the robot maintenance man. So the guy who's
Woohoo!
essentially fixing the machines / whenever there's a breakdown is there.
Lubes the robots.
Lubing robots. Which, this show always comes back to lubing and fluffers, So he's a robot fluffer, essentially. When the robots need to reach fully turgid status, he's there. Man, with the lube. He's there. And so you go like, okay, so we brought back the manufacturing. We've created two jobs. Right?
Woohoo!
Now, one of the big issues is if you start to expand this across all industries, right? It's more often than not going to look that way, right?
Yep. Well, that's the thing. They're talking about auto industry, but it's been getting more and more automated for decades now.
Yeah,
to the point where you often don't even recognize that there are people in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the automotive industry is almost all, I don't even know how much a percentage of it is.
And then the other big jobs that he wants people to go into are what? Coal mining and drilling, which nobody wants because it's too dangerous.
Let's see.
Something.
How much of a modern car is made up of? Oh, that ain't. Here it is. The global autonomous construction equipment market size was estimated at $12.72 billion and is expected to grow. It's got to be more than that. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, this is the craziest one. The jig welders.
Mm-hmm.
These welders will essentially grab a part to weld it to another part. They connect them with the fucking lasers. They basically bring them in. The lasers like put them exactly in place, hold them, and then a machine welds it together. So there's not even like a person welding, let alone somebody holding either part.
Right.
Yeah, here's a perfect example of a sentence right here from the auto industry. These machines are necessary to create the automobiles we use every day. Without them, the automotive industry would come to a standstill.
Again. Ugh. That's crazy.
Robots are used for repetitive tasks like welding, assembling, and painting, significantly increasing efficiency and speed. Oh, yeah, even just conveyor belts, right?
Yep. Well, so Tesla claims that 75% of theirs is automated.
Right.
And that was as of 2020. Now, granted, we're going to assume that that part isn't necessarily a good thing. But still, even if it's between 50 and 70%, it looks
Yeah.
like 50 is about the actual. That's crazy.
Here's the weird thing, but like the number of people involved in making a single car can vary significantly depending on the manufacturer, the complexity of the vehicle, and the production methods used. However, here are some general estimates. There are going to be tens of thousands of people involved in this process, right? Assembly line workers. Typically, dozens to hundreds of workers are involved in the assembly process alone. A modern automotive assembly line can have between 1,000 to 3,000 workers for a large facility. Design and engineering. This is where the people actually come in. Design, engineering, supply chain, and logistics. But here's the weird thing is that, like, the design and engineering, they're utilizing AI for that now. So the designers and engineers are going to be gone soon. Supply chain and logistics. Thousands of additional workers are involved in the supply chain, which includes the parts manufacturers, logistics personnel, and quality control inspectors. Quality control is going to be done by robots very soon. Logistics personnel, logistics personnel are going to be gone soon. That's going to be an AI. That's going to fall to AI. Parts manufacturers, mostly machine driven, but they try to use that as people. And then support staff. This includes management, administrative staff, and support roles, which can easily add hundreds more individuals, which is like, so support staff. So includes management, administrative staff, and support roles. Okay.
Janitors.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
management is going to be replaced. Middle management is going to be replaced by AI. Administrative staff, admin is 100%. They want to get rid of that and have machines do it. And by that, you could see the tariffs that they put together was most likely done by fucking ChatGPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And support roles, whatever support roles mean, that's likely janitors and shit like that, which will eventually go away because there won't be enough people around to even bother needing the support role people. Like, is there going to be somebody making coffee for the fucking machines? Like, what do you mean? The support roles? Who are these support role people, right? Like, because the support role people are going to support people, correct? Or am I wrong in that assessment of what that statement is?
I would guess so, unless it's, certain things like stocking, making sure that the robots have enough supplies or parts or whatever, little things like that. But yeah. Filling up dispensers or that kind of thing.
Joel G says TPS reports will be automated. That's true. They will be automated.
AI will be sending emails to itself. Did you get the memo?
Did you get the memo? We're putting a cover sheet on those now.
That's right.
It would take me a while. It would take me a while to like look this up, but the easy way to explain this is that they kept saying that if we're going to pay a $20 minimum wage, right? That they keep saying that, oh, they're going to replace people, right? They're going to replace people with machines. And I said, and my point and the easy rebuttal to that is that minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and they're already replacing people with machines. So,
right.
What does any of that mean? Like, what are you talking about? You're literally just spouting nonsense because they're already replacing people with machines as it is, right? Without increasing the minimum wage, right? And a perfect example of that is like, have you been to a grocery store? Right?
Oh, the self-checkout.
Yeah, the self-check. Like, you don't get a discount for using the self-checkout. I mean, unless it's a self-applied discount with the 5 fingers. You know what I mean? Which I don't necessarily blame people for accidentally not ringing things up because they don't work there.
Right.
You're like, fuck, man, these people that are ringing themselves out, they're only ringing out like 90% of the products. And you're like, yeah, they're not your employees. They don't work here. Is there some kind of standard that they're supposed to follow? Like, are they gonna get terminated from the job for not accidentally doing a good job at the job where they don't work?
And you've made it an anxiety-ridden scenario by
Right.
putting them in a little box with somebody that's literally looking over their shoulder at them, and everybody, oh,
Right.
you don't even have the vaguest of privacy. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, it's weird because they can't even set up the self checkout like the rest of the checkout, right?
No,
Have you ever noticed
you got
that
to be
where
able
you're
to
like,
tap it. Yeah,
oh, you're like, hey, I've got a cart full of stuff, and I bring the cart up to this little tiny platform that's like 20 inches by 20 inches wide, which in metric is 40 feet by 100,000 miles or kilometers or something. I'm not sure. Anyhow, you come up to this little platform, and then you have one bag thing next to it, right? But you have a cart full of groceries that's now in the way because you can't take anything out because you have to. It's to the side of you, and then you go forward, and then you go over into this one single bag area, right? And then the thing starts telling you, don't remove anything from the bag area. Right. You're like, I have more than one bag of groceries that I'm purchasing, but the machine doesn't know that. It keeps telling you stop removing things from the bag area.
Right.
Right.
God forbid you bought dog food in a 12-pack of something. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, heaven forbid you leave the toilet paper in the cart over there like a sane person, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, and the thing is that like they didn't even design this situation. The weird part is that like they didn't even design this situation to work as well as the other situation, right? With the conveyor belt that goes to a person, and then they have a big bagging area to the side of them, right?
Right.
Like they didn't even design the self-check to work as well as the other one. Which, if you had done that, people might be more amenable to it, right? Of like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess this is different, but it seems to work as well. Like, no, it works worse.
Right.
Or
even if you just said, okay, we're going to limit it to 5 items or less, and then we'll just have, but they don't even do that.
Dude, I was at a hardware store the other day that had 0 live checkers.
Jesus.
Like working. Like none of the checkouts were open. Only the self-checkout was open. So I had to take lumber through this weird maze.
Oh, no. You had to run the gauntlet
over there and then get through there, and then I was in everybody's way, right? Because I'm at a hardware. That's like why I'm here. I'm at a hardware store to buy fucking wood. Like that's why I'm here. Like that's the reason I'm here. These big long sticks of fucking tree, right?
And their answer would have been, well, why didn't you just call? And then we'll call ahead and we'll just load it for you. And you're like, that's not how it works sometimes.
Well, I don't know about the call ahead thing. I'm not calling anybody. I'm not calling anybody ahead of time. I'm going over there to get some 2x4s. I drove my truck there so that I could get them,
Right.
Yeah. Jose Cerda brings up a good point, but drill, baby, drill. That's right. We need to drill for more oil.
Right.
For the robots to do stuff, it's fucking bizarre. We're living in a bizarro world right now.
Yeah.
With those two on a shirt added to your streams, I bet you would sell a lot more of those vibrators you always link to us. Oh, shit. Solid point. Solid point, Mickham. We have forgotten... We have forgotten our sponsor of the day, the female orgasm. It is real. It is a real thing.
We did discuss boob squishing, so, we...
That's women's health. Women's health is real. Okay.
So is vibrator. That's part of women's health. I'm here to tell you.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. I'm not arguing
Okay.
against that.
Okay. Fair enough.
What I am saying is that they are two different subjects. Like, you got to make sure that your tits ain't got cancer in them. That's important. Just ask my last two spouses, which Jesus, I've gone through nothing, but I want to tell you my sob story about how hard it's been to go through both of those, which psychologically it has been, but realistically I'm fine. I don't need to be baby-brained fucking loser-ass dude that's like, but what about me? Right. But it's been tough to support both ladies having breast cancer and having mastectomies and shit. But Amazon, or the Federal Trade Commission, which may or may not be disbanded next week, who knows, requires me to tell you that I get a commission if you buy through our Amazon links that I just posted in the chat. This one is for the +1 dual rabbit vibrator personal massager. So if you want to buy a +1 dual rabbit vibrator personal massager for women's health, it's hot pink. Otherwise, click the link and it will take you to Amazon, and then you can go buy a bunch of other crap that you wanted to buy from Amazon that you were going to do anyhow. And we'll get Amazon affiliate links. And if you're a dude, hold on, let me find something for the dudes. So the dudes can have orgasms of their own.
You're so considerate.
We need one of the greatest tools ever invented by man, right here.
Is it a cock ring? No.
Oh, not a cock ring. No. Dudes can figure that out on their own.
You'd think. I don't know.
They can. I don't care. They have plenty of time on their hands. They have plenty of time on their hands to deal with that. But
that was
men do not have the ability to replicate this right here, and it is the German precision, the greatest tool ever invented, the Knipex Cobra pliers. These are the greatest fucking tools invented by man, by the Germans, produced with the German precision. Precise enough for the Third Reich.
Nip.
But with red handles to remind you of socialism. Anyhow, yeah.
It's a weirdo.
They're wonderful. They're great, and we get a commission if you go there and buy them. They're very expensive, but they're German. They're precision, and they will grasp onto all of the nuts and bolts that you could have ever dreamed of, and grip them with the strength of fucking 10 men. And you'll have a brogasm automatically, just like Alyssa says right there, a brogasm. You'll bro so hard, you gasm all over the place, and everyone will love it. But if you're, the all hail the female orgasm is correct, Just Bob, for sure. My mom is battling the boob cancer right now, so I totally agree. Fuck cancer. Yeah, agreed. Fuck cancer. It's stupid. It's sucks. We don't know why it's here. We don't know what it's for. It's some bullshit. But like I said, I was looking up the breast cancer survival rates, and like in the 1950s, it was like 20%, and then in the 60s, it was like 35%, and then in the 70s, it was like 55%, and then the 80s, it was like 70%, and now it is all the way up to like 97% or something crazy. And that means, you know what that means? That means we're headed in the right direction. Now, if you're an RFK fucking brainworm fan, you will think, but what about the autism? Right. Because you're a fucking idiot. So, and that's right. RFK is an idiot, and if you're a fan of him, you're a fucking idiot too. And you better get right with whatever you Jesus or whatever, because it's not going to be good. But yeah, we do wish her the best. But the German precision is true. with the Knipex pliers. Those ones are mind-bendingly awesome. You will love them. They're great. But realistically, you should buy a vibrator and give it to some lady that you know. And I say lady, I mean an adult. Okay? You fucking, if there's a creep out there watching, I didn't say anything creepy. I say give it to an adult. Be an adult. Happy birthday. My grandmother died of breast cancer at the age of 32. I never got to meet her. That's a fucking bummer, dude. Because I'm older than 32.
Yes.
Even today.
Yes.
Even today. To those of you that thought I was 31 years old, I'm not. But speaking of old and things, where did it go? I saw it earlier. Where's my calendar? We're on the precipice of another birthday, and it's coming up next month.
Yes,
If I can hold it together. If I can hold it together for 29 more days. We are at 3,000. We are at 3,990 days.
I know.
Which is wild to think, and we're coming up on 11 fucking years, and it's one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. I know what I'm doing today, and I'm gonna stick to it today. So that's a pretty big deal. I feel you got to be quite fed up by all this by now. Are you experiencing a lot of hostility growing in between people more now? After the new administration, are people getting more into public arguments and stuff, or is it mostly in the media? I would say that like it's more difficult to like quantify as like people getting into arguments, because it is like ultimately in the U.S. it is fairly rare that people are getting into like open arguments. You know what I mean? Like people aren't necessarily like being driven to fisticuffs like we live in the old West or something. Like this isn't like
out in the streets.
Like I watched Tombstone the other day because I caught some kind of virus from my daughter, which made me so sick. I spent what's that? Yeah, I mean I spent a good I spent a solid day just vomiting, which is not that ain't me. Vicky always refers to me as the iron gut because I can eat whatever. It just doesn't bother me. And even when I'm sick, I don't normally like. I'm not a throw up, but man, brutal. And my daughter had it. That's how I know where I got it. So there was a lot of pooping and throwing up there. Anyhow, I was sick as shit and ended up watching Tombstone. Now, if you're somebody who watches movies, you might watch that movie and think like, wow, the United States is fucking crazy. People just be shooting each other and playing poker, and it's just wild. We actually do live in the 21st century, so people aren't going out of their minds on a regular basis. And I think that a lot of Americans nowadays sort of just refuse to even still have the political conversations with other people that they know. If you are around the MAGA people, they have a tendency to act like everything's normal, and they will sort of consistently dog whistle if you catch my drift, right? It's just a lot of offhand comments throughout the day that are brushed off and not like pointed at one person around them, right?
Yeah, they try to get a rise out of anyone that's around just to point and say, look at those crazy Dem lib lefty, whatever.
Right. And one of the things is that like I normally confront it, and pretty rarely does somebody like want to throw down or whatever. But like a good interaction was, like when I was in DC, we went to this this dinner, and I ended up having to sit with these guys, and I think I told this story where I had to sit with these guys, and they got really drunk while we were at like a business dinner. I mean, my daughter was there, right? And they're ordering themselves like triple scotches, you know. And in the time that we were there, they already had 3 each, right? And you know, and we had dinner, but it's like, you know, you have a steak and potatoes, like it doesn't, you know,
Yeah,
it doesn't make you not drunk.
Proper 9 drinks.
Yeah, and like it doesn't make you not drunk. You're still drunk. But the thing that triggered those guys, and I will say 100%, it triggered them like the snowflakes that they are, was when I was like, yeah, Mike Rowe, it's ridiculous that Mike Rowe goes on Fox News and he does all this shit, right? Acting like he's somehow the hero of the blue collar worker, when in his life, you know, like he went to art school. He went to liberal arts school and got a fucking bachelor's degree, which then he goes on the news and advocates that people don't go get a 4-year degree, right?
Right.
And instead of taking over his grandfather's electrical company, which would have been perfect timing because his grandfather at the time had about 10 more years of being active working and could have worked with his grandson to take over the company. Yeah. He offered him that, as the story goes. The offer was that his grandson could take over the electrical company so that he could go become a blue-collar worker, right? He could become a blue-collar business owner. And he refused that and went into opera singing and went to a liberal arts school, right? And then he goes on the news and tells people not to do that, right? Because, once again, it's the rules for me and not for thee, right? Like, why would you want to have blue collar workers that are more educated, right? Like, that's a bad thing, because the blue collar workers, they only have 50 years of physical productivity that we can abuse out of them, right? And if they waste
4 of them away,
and if they waste 4 or 5 of them, and by the way, they think it's a waste, they categorize it as a waste. If they waste those years of physicality that they could physically be digging holes for us, right? Then just what will their life come to? What, right?
9 years, no less.
And they lure them in under the guise of, yeah, you're going to be making $90,000 a year, right? Needless to say, you're going to be making $90,000 a year in 10 years. And, by the way, needless to say, that's the top. That's the top of the market. You'll only ever be making that, right?
And, by the way, $90,000 a year, below the poverty level. Just checking in.
$90,000 a year is not below the poverty level. I don't know.
If you have a family of 4, is where I was going with that. But yes,
it's still not below the poverty level. That's not below the poverty level. I'm interjecting that because it's not true, and I don't want people to think that, like, I think making $90,000 a year is below the poverty level. Can you live in downtown Seattle making $90,000 a year? No, you can't. But that is, if you lived in Oroville, right, and made $90,000 a year, you'd be fine. Yes, you don't own 3 boats, 5 jet skis, a Corvette, and concubines, right? But if you buy a $60,000 house out in the middle of nowhere and you're making $90,000 a year,
right?
You can make that work, right? Like, yeah, you might live in a single wide trailer, you know what I mean? But you live inside, You know, you're not like a homeless person, and you're not wearing Gucci every day, but 90,000 a year, you're fine.
I apologize. My bad.
It is going to limit your ability to live in downtown San Antonio, right? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But you know, we can't be these fucking West Coast lib cucks trying to tell people that you got to make more than 90 grand a year. But what I will tell you, and what I want people to realize, that like, yes, you can go into blue collar jobs and you can be making, you know, 45, 50 bucks an hour, right? You can be making good money. It's going to take you years to get to that, though. You're not going to start out making that. So between the ages of 18 and 25, and you're going to have to go to school in order to become a journeyman. And you're going to be working, and you're going to be making probably $18, $19 an hour, which you could also do that elsewhere. But once you become a journeyman, there is going to become a fucking ceiling to how much you're going to make, because you're going to have to literally be physically doing work, and there are only so many hours in the day that you can be doing work. There will become a ceiling to how much money you can make. Why did Alyssa just delete Mickham?
Oh, Alyssa. No way.
What happened?
I bet she just hit the wrong person.
How do I undo that? That's the question. How did you do that? That's crazy. We have to figure out how to undo that.
Meanwhile, Mickham's somewhere going, "What did I do?"
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Mickham's back. I don't know why. I don't know what Alyssa clicked. Alyssa clicked something, but it looks like it's okay. Okay. His showed back up. Okay, I was about to say, wow, that was weird. I'm guessing wet fingers. I'm guessing that like wet fingers McGee over there is clicking something on their phone. Now, Mickham, you're here. Okay, you're good. Okay. I was like, well, how come I can't click the undo? I think I have to go to his, it says I have to go to their channel and undo it, but I'm running low on fucking RAM right now. So we're not going to do that, but we got it fixed. Okay, cool. Anyhow, I fucking lost track of what I was talking about. Oh yeah. So when you go into those blue collar jobs, you're going to hit a ceiling at some point. Okay. And while you can earn money, which is great, and you can work hard, which is great, and you can do good work, that's great too. You're going to reach a certain point in time in your life where your body is not going to be able to do all of the things that it was doing before, right? When you're 45, you aren't 22. That's just a fact, and that's just a basic fact, right? And eventually, at some point, your body isn't going to be able to do all of that work to occupy those hours at the same rate that you were making 20 years ago, by the way. And it's going to become a problem. Now, those two guys that were acting like total piss babies about Mike Rowe, right, were a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about, because one of the guys had become an insurance salesman and the other guy had become a realtor, a house salesman, right? And they were both in their mid-40s and didn't want to do crab fishing and didn't want to do plumbing and didn't want to do what was the other thing that he had mentioned that they did? One of the guys was a plumber, and the other guy had been a crab fisherman, and there was something else, but I can't remember what it was. But they didn't want to do those jobs anymore because of how difficult it was to do physically, right?
So
As
what
a
do
perfect
they wanna
example, at some point in time, you are going to age and want to be able to use your experience and your brain and an application and apply them in a way that is going to be different than just physically carrying and doing things 60, 70 hours a week, right? If you are somebody who has a college degree, it is going to be monumentally, like leaps and bounds easier for you to transition into that period of your life with a credential that says you are capable and you are able to do the things that are expected of a person that moves up into those types of positions, right? As opposed to having zero credential, especially, right? And yet, the kookaloo fucking MAGA people have managed to drink their own piss Kool-Aid to the point where somehow it's admirable to just work yourself to death, have no pension, physically be unable to do anything, and when it comes time to transition into something other than just physically carrying heavy things around, you have zero avenue to do with that, right? And a good example of this in the past was that they used over and over and over again was when Hillary Clinton mentioned that people like those truck drivers and those coal miners should, air quote, learn to code, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you are somebody who has been driving a truck for 20, 25, 30 years, your body is breaking down, whether you like it or not. Driving a truck for 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, over and over and over again for 25 fucking years is breaking down your body. And it would behoove you to do something like learn to code so that you aren't beholden to being on the road 192 hours a week, right? But that was considered so offensive that no one, there's no way you could ever vote for somebody that offensive, right? And these are from the people who have been calling the liberals and whatnot snowflakes for the last 20 fucking years, right? And I recently was listening to an excerpt from a book, an econ book, and then I looked up the guy, and now I can't remember the guy, but he did a great job of breaking down the two current political parties in the United States. One is the corporate rule, and one is the oligarch rule. The oligarchs are fascists. The corporates are at least democratic in the fact, like small d Democrat, like a democracy, a republic where people vote. The oligarchs are fascists. They want one king to rule us all. And the easy way to describe it is the Republican Party is the oligarch class that wants a fascist. The Democratic Party in the United States is the corporates that want corporations to rule over our democracy, right? And when you start to kind of see through that lens, that's essentially what has essentially been going on for the last 50 years, the battle back and forth between the two ruling political parties in the U.S. It's really easy to start to look at the decisions that were made over the years, and through that lens makes it a lot easier to sort of understand American politics. That one group is trying to lead us back to the to having a king and just essentially having a king dictatorship, and the other group is trying to expand business to the point of that everything would just be corporations, right? And admittedly, I agree with the corporation people more than I agree with the people that want a fascist dictatorship. That doesn't mean that I agree with them whole hog, for sure. I disagree with them a lot, but at least I could get along with them. You know what I mean? Like, at least I can organize well and deal with the things that they're coming up with as far as regulation or laws that they're trying to pass or money that they're trying to move into different groups and stuff like that. It's a much more easier to navigate world than jackboot thugs doing the bidding of one brain rotted fucking weird out of shape old man who somehow wins golf tournaments at his own golf resort. Right? Like some fat out of shape old piece of shit who can't even fucking conjure a sentence. Somehow wins a golf tournament at his own golf resort, which, by the way, somehow there were no cameras or film crew there, whereas every other golf tournament in the fucking planet is on TV because old guys love watching that shit for some reason. I don't get it. I don't even like playing golf, let alone watching golf. So to each his own.
Come on.
To each his own, right?
I guess.
I mean, I find golf to just be sort of innocuous as far as like personal likes go, you know, like you kind of like golf, like, okay.
It's like a lazy man's walkabout.
Well, I mean, true, but I'm saying that like on the list of like things that a person could like,
yeah,
like being obnoxious and gross, like golf is way down the list. It's not high up there at all.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just...
You know what I mean? It's just like, okay. I would say cricket's higher.
Okay.
Take that, Australia, you fucks. But you know, so when it comes down to like the political scope of the United States, it's like I could deal with corporations and the corporate group, right? And you go like okay, I get it. You guys want big business. Okay. We just need to regulate that then, right? Like we need to break up monopolies. We need to regulate when they take over a whole entire sector, right? We need to make sure that capitalism exists, which, by the way, I'm not an anti-capitalist. Like, I need people to understand that. Like, I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I am down with communism. What I'm not down with is unregulated communism, or unregulated capitalism, or unregulated communism, for that matter. I'm not down with either of them.
Right.
I'm not down with the unregulated capitalism because unregulated capitalism turns into a monopoly, and I am not even remotely in the world in favor of any monopolization of any resource or access to anything in this world. Except for when it comes down to like people's bodily autonomy, I guess, right? Like you could have a monopolization over your spouse's vagina, I guess. Like you'd be like, I'm the only dude that's doing that. And you're like, okay, I could get behind that. But only if the other person signs up for it, right?
Right.
If the other person's like, no, this vagina is for like, I don't know, 10 ladies and 13 dudes that I know. And then if the one person was trying to monopolize it, I'd be like, well, that's not good. Because the owner of it doesn't want you to do that, right? So when it comes down to like personal decisions of people wanting to monopolize their own thing, like, okay, that's fine. But when it comes to people's access to certain things being monopolized, and then you're essentially going to be, I guess like the easy way to boil it down is you're going to overpay. You're going to overpay your for whatever it is that you need. Like if somebody owned all of the eggs, right? and they're like, eggs are $1,000 an egg now, right? Which, by the way, is happening in the United States. That's why the egg prices went all the way up like that. Yes, bird flu was a problem, but it's because it was monopolized by 3 companies, right? That all work together to make sure and set the price, right? The fix is in. The fix.
Excellent episode of Billions, but yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I understand that, like, all the labels out there are confusing as shit. Like, I'm not a... It's hard to say. It's like, am I a social democrat or am I a democratic socialist? Not a democratic socialist. I'm a social democrat. And then that becomes hella confusing because the labels in the United States are ridiculous. Unless you're somebody who wears a Ku Klux Klan hood and you go like, obviously that guy's fucked in the brain. Right?
His label, pretty clear. Not good, but certainly clear.
Yeah.
I think he went to prison for life, Mickham. I do not believe he went to El Salvador.
No, that guy. I don't think that guy went to El Salvador. The guy from the golf course. I think he's just he's in jail.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if he's in prison yet. But yeah, you're gonna go for a long time.
My guess is if they're gonna try and kill Luigi, they're gonna take a shot at it with that guy too. Because if you kill a healthcare company president, that's nowhere near as bad as trying to shoot the Cheeto.
Let's see. Where's the guy? Suspect at Trump International Golf Course charged with firearms offenses. That's it? Okay. Oh, it's not going to be good. Okay. Routh, what's his name? Ryan Wesley Routh, 58 of Hawaii, has been charged by a criminal complaint in the South District of Florida with firearms charges related to an incident at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach on September 15th. Routh was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, not good, and possession and receipt of a firearm with an obliterated serial number, and made his initial appearance today. Ooh. Firearm with an obliterated serial number is hella time in prison. That's not good. It would have been much easier for him to just build his own firearm. It wouldn't have had a serial number.
Yep. Didn't they just pass that? Approve that law for the kits? The 3D printed kits? I know it's come up in a couple of courts recently that they couldn't ban them.
What do you mean?
Several police departments had requested that, or had legislation passed that the 3D printed gun kits, which you can buy the parts of and then put together as a gun without using the federal firearms times, they had requested that those be banned, and they've been brought up on appeal since then, and those bans have been lifted, and so they're working their way up the courts. So yes, he could have just bought a kit, put together his own gun without a number, and see here, I'll reference you here in a second. Firearm kits.
Let me see. Oh, you used to be able to in Washington. You can't do it anymore as of 2019.
Right. Oh, it did go through the SCOTUS thing finally.
I mean, I have firearms that don't have
Right.
serial numbers, but they're built before 2019, so that's why.
No, there was a ban that Biden had done regulating ghost guns, and apparently on the 26th of last month, I missed it, SCOTUS upheld the ban, so that's good. But they did leave it open that it may not apply if individual challenges come up. 7-2. So with SCOTUS being completely disregarded by the presidents at this point, what do we think is going to be, if anything, their next move?
Who?
SCOTUS. Like, what are they going to do, or how are they going to try to enforce their rulings if he continues to defy them, which they did to themselves with the whole he's immune to anything he does in office. But are they going to try to go back and reverse that somehow without a case precedent?
What do you mean?
Well, so we've got the unanimous order that Garcia should be returned, which obviously he's not going to in any way attempt to facilitate, blatantly going against their balance check, whatever. So what do we think, if anything, anyone's going? Do you see any hope of a governmental attempt to correct him at this stage, or just screw it?
Oh, do I see like the Supreme Court
or some agency there with trying to correct him?
like no, I personally don't. Like there isn't really like any avenue that they can go down, right?
Right.
And I mean that's the whole reason why it's such that I would consider that the current situation is a coup. Like that's what's happening, is a coup. And the reason for that is that they go, well, there's three branches of government that are supposed to apply checks and balances, but the Supreme Court doesn't have any enforcement arm.
Right. And Congress has just thrown
Do
its
they
hands
have
in the air.
do they have a militia or an army or their own prisons or police officers? Do they have like police officers or what? What do they got?
Is there a Swiss guard hiding away somewhere we're unaware of?
I mean, there might be. There very well might be. I don't know if they have like some kind of secret service that works for them or something. I don't. Right. The same reason why like this was an issue with H.W. Bush and W. Bush with the Patriot Act is that it was really solidifying all of these powers under the executive branch. Like every president in the last 40 years has done things to solidify their power as president, and that's why I've opposed them at all of those positions or at all of those times. And I've also opposed the idea that we would have an individual president, right?
Right.
Like you brought up, like what? Hold on.
What did I brought up?
Is it Switzerland or is it Switzerland or Finland or somewhere that like rotates their head of state?
Oh, I don't remember. Mickham would be better to answer that.
Mickham might know. It's not Germany. It's not Belgium. It's not Netherlands. It's not certainly not France. Certainly not Ireland. It's not Portugal. Let me see. Estonia, France, Greece, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia. Yeah, Shinzo Abe was assassinated by a man with a homemade gun. Yes, because that's Japan. And to be clear, if anybody was wondering, I had built guns that didn't have serial numbers, but the receiver actually has a serial number on them, if anybody was wondering. So they have serial numbers.
Are you thinking of the... Sorry. Are you thinking of the presidency of the EU Council?
No.
Okay, because that does rotate.
Well, the European Union does rotate, yes.
Sorry, that was what I was asking.
I can't remember what country it is.
It is Switzerland.
Is it Switzerland that rotates around?
Rotating 1-year presidency.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like, if you talk to somebody from Switzerland, they probably don't even know who the president is, right? Because it's not, you're not having this like this like individual person that is pushed to the forefront all the time forever, right? And somebody would go like, well, why do you think that that's such a bad thing? And you go like, well, why do you think Russia sucks? Right? It's like, why do you think China sucks? Right? Because you got, 30 years of a guy, one individual person being completely in charge of the whole fucking country of people. Right? And it's very difficult for a person to sit down and think about what 1 million people really is. Right?
It's a
staggering number. It's an insane number of people. Like you go to a really big sports event, there's like 100,000 people there. And it is crazy to actually kind of focus yourself out and look at what is actually happening crowd wise, right? When you're looking at 100,000 people in a big giant stadium, it is pretty wild to really like kind of zoom out and look at all of just the sea of people. And that is only 1/10 of a million, right?
Right.
You would need 10 more of those to get to 1 million. Then you start to just talk about like Washington State has like 10 million or 11 million people in it, right?
Right.
And we're not even the biggest state, right?
Or-
In the United States. I think we're 10th or 11th or something like that. And to somehow then extrapolate that to like 350 million people in the United States, and then just have this one individual weird person who is
in charge of.
at the tiller of the ship, right? Steering the ship around all crazy. Is, in my opinion, categorically fucked. Like, senators, there should be way more senators. Representatives in the House, there should be way more representatives in the House. The only reason that there isn't is because people go, the government's too big, right? Which is the stupidest conversation you could have with anybody. It's like, okay, how big should the government be for 350 million people?
Right.
How big should it be? Well, I don't know, but it's too big. Okay, how big should it be then? If you don't know how big it should be, you can't make the determination that it's too big.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't know how big it's supposed to be. Well, 100 senators is exactly the right number. Like,
Not.
how did you come up with that? Like, it's a round number. Right?
A round number.
It's a round number, and I like round numbers. So that's the number. That's the number we got, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, there should be more representatives. There should be more senators. People go like, the Supreme Court, there's 9 of them. That's enough. No, it's not. It's not enough.
Not even vaguely.
It's not even remotely enough people to realistically be making decisions for 900 or for 350 million people. But then on top of that, making decisions that are going to influence 1 billion people or 2 billion people or 8 billion people.
Because we don't live in a vacuum, despite what they'd like us to believe.
Right.
Ugh.
You know, and so I'm like, that's been my opinion for a long time, is like, whatever we can do to expand democracy, we should be doing that to make things more democratic. But that does not seem to be the goal or the intent of a lot of the American population. And the weird thing is, it is in my experience that when you really, really, really have an honest conversation with those Americans about what it is that they really are hoping to have, like, the United States look like, it is more like what I described than it is what they are voting for, right? So,
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Anyhow, I love you guys. It's almost 4:40. We did not hit our goal of 1 million super chats today, so that's a bummer. But thanks to Witchy Cat, and thanks to oh my God, who gave us our big super chat of the day? Paula.
Paula.
Yeah. Thanks to Paula. Thanks to Witchy Cat. I hope everybody has like a really wonderful week. I hope you do. I'm looking forward to the weather this week. It is supposed to be nice and sunny out. We're supposed to have a week of just nice sunny weather. And after all of these crazy like hailstorms and rainstorms and tornadoes and fucking insanity we've had for the last month, I am really looking forward to like drying out, having the sun out for a while, and just enjoying it. I've got a ton of work going on. People's houses keep breaking, and then they want me to fix them. Plus, I got this giant remodel that is ongoing. Thumbs up to last week. I pushed really hard, and we got all the cabinets in the kitchen. We got the countertops last week, which is big. Countertops are in. That is a big deal for a kitchen. Once you get the countertops in, you start going downhill. So even though it's a ton of work still to do, it really, really, really is like, yeah, but the countertops are in here. Let's go, baby! Right? Because you can hook up the disposal. You can hook up the sink. You can put the faucet in. You can put the dishwasher in now because you got the sink and you got the that and you got the and you got the countertop and you got the that. So there's a lot of things that are going downhill now. that I need to rephrase that. We are on the downhill swing of a big project, right? Like we're going. We got momentum at our back, I guess is the way to put it. And so that's good. And it's a good thing. And, my hopes were to be done at the end of May, like right at the end of May, but that's 2 weeks from now. And that's questionable at this point. But hopefully we're 3 weeks. Hopefully we're 3 weeks out. So either way, we continue forging a path ever forward. And tomorrow is my birthday, so hopefully the traffic is not bad. But yeah, like I said, hope everybody has a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Okay.